Welcome to another Ubase Live. All right, I'm gonna tune up real quick and we'll just jump into it. So there are usually some issues with the live, so I'm trying it from my car. Please excuse the mess. In fact, I might move that. Well, I can't. Okay. So anyway, let me get the bass in the shot too. All right, there we go. So I'll play some songs for you, and of course, if you have any questions, just let me know. And that's about it. Yes, I'm coming from the car. Just give it 1 second to stop beeping. All right. So a lot of times I call these car sessions, but hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. But today I'm not referring to it like that. Just because I just want to see if the quality is any better on this. So if you're available in the chat, just let me know if this quality is better than normal or if it's worse than normal, just, or if it's about normal. And if you've seen my live streams before, you know that I've been having issues with the quality. So I'm just trying this out to see if this works any better. All right. All right. So let me angle this again. Sorry about that. It's just not really quite at the right angle. Here we go. That's better. Now you can see what my right hand is doing too. So if you have any questions about that, then you can find that over there as well. Okay. So yes, let me know who's watching, and if you have any questions or if there's a bass line you want me to play or just go over, let me know as well. And I guess I'll kind of start this the same way I start many of them. I'll play my song Green Tea. All right. right, so once again, welcome to another UBass Live. I try to do these every month, usually on the first Thursday, unless I have something going on the first Thursday or if I'm out of town. Last week I was actually out of town, and I guess that might not have been the first week either. I can't really think correctly, but anyway, I had stuff going on at the beginning of the month. All right, so I'm trying to figure out if the chat comes up on here. So if you've got a chance, please say something in the chat. Let me just see if it pops up on the screen or if it doesn't. So far, I haven't seen anything yet. So I'm just wondering if those show up on the screen on the phone or not. It says all messages are visible. So hopefully that will work. All right. So earlier this month, I released a video where I was going over Brown Eyed Girl, the way that a ukulele group might play it. So basically, a lot of times when you play with a ukulele group, they'll play in the key of C. Sometimes they'll play in other keys as well, but it's very often that they'll play in the key of C, especially if you have a lot of beginners in that group, because it's a very beginner-friendly key on the ukulele. The first 4 chords almost everybody learns are a very, very common chord progression, C, G, A minor, and F. And so those chords are all in the key of C major. And you might end up playing a lot of songs that are originally in different keys in that key. So with Brown Eyed Girl, I kind of just went over the basics of ukulele's bass line on that. So I didn't like come up with anything. But just to kind of give a talk-through lesson, there's a tab lesson already up. Basically, the part that I like... Oh, thank you, Rick. All right, thanks for letting me know that the chat also comes up on the screen, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So basically, the real bass line of Brown Eyed Girl kind of is like the solo section in that song. So in C, it's going to sound like this, and this is more like the ukulele version than the original. And so the original is kind of more like from the beginning of the song in G. But it's very similar. It's very similar. But in ukulele's version, he's playing more of an arpeggio bass line with a couple of little walk downs for the verse and for the chorus, rather than doing that line that he uses in the solo as the verse part as well. So that being said, I want to kind of do a series of songs for ukulele groups specifically. So if you have some suggestions of just arrangements that you've heard, or like, what do I even do to approach this song if I don't want to just play a root 5th line, if you're in a ukulele group, I kind of want to do a series sort of based on that. And that Brown Eyed Girl video was sort of the first one that I'm hoping to be a much larger series. So songs that come to mind, that one, Brown Eyed Girl. Stand By Me. So a lot of times in Stand By Me, you'd play it in the key of A major, but I think it's good to learn this one as a pattern based on a major scale rather than just learning the line, so that you can change the key, because some people will play it in G, some ukulele players will play it in C, and like I said, the original is in the key of A. So when I'm playing this song, a lot of times I think of the major scale pattern. And if you don't know that, I have videos on the major scale pattern. And then I try to think of keeping that finger pattern while playing the bass line for Stand By Me. So the original key, it would sound like this. Okay, so basically what's going on there is you start technically with the root, and then you go to the 5th note of the scale. So let's do this real quick. Let's just go over the scale pattern, and then I can tell you the notes within the scale in order. So if I gave each one of these a number, first note, second note, third note, fourth note, fifth note, sixth note, seventh note, eighth note, then the song Brown Eyed Girl, the bass line would be 8, 8, 5, 7, 8. But if you're thinking about in terms of frets, that's not the case. The frets would be 7th fret on the D string, then you're going down to the 7th fret on the E string, then the 6th fret on the D string, and back to the 7th. So I'd like to get you guys into the habit of thinking about these, or being able to think about them in terms of scale degrees, which means I teach you a scale, and then you're, instead of thinking about it as 5th fret, 7th fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, and all that stuff, you could think about it as first note of the scale, second note, third note, fourth note, and some people even think do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So notice the last note and the first note are the same name, you just have to know the name and the octave. So the reason I'd like you to know that is because then you can change the key of the song much easier. So it's called transposing, where you start where you're in one key, but like let's say the singer can't do it there, so you have to do it in a different key. Then you just move your finger pattern over to the new key center, and all you have to do is the same exact finger pattern that you were doing here, just with your hand assigned to this grid. So if you don't know about the grid and about the major scale, those are both in my bass ukulele course, or my U-Bass course. It's got 2 names on the internet. It depends on if you want a long video, I call it the U-Bass beginner course. And if you want the playlist instead of separate videos for each part, that's out there too, under bass ukulele mini course. But to give you the gist of the idea, you assign your finger 1 finger per fret. So when you do like a major scale, that means, well, let's just say this. If we're doing A major, you're going to be playing, it's free online, and then on Patreon, you can get the, there's basically like a PDF version of the course that goes along with it, and that's for paid members. But the course itself, if you just want the videos, is free on YouTube. Okay. But the basic idea is we take a grid of 4 frets. So in the case of A major, we're going to use frets 4, 5, 6, and 7. Anytime we play a 4th fret note, our pointer finger will get it. Anytime we play a 5th fret note, our middle finger will get it. Anytime we play a 6th fret note, our ring finger will get it, and our pinky will get all the 7th fret notes. So that just means we're assigning our fingers to the different frets, right? So now, if I were to tell you how to play an A major scale using that, you would go 5th fret. Well, our middle finger is getting 5th fret, so we got 5th fret on the E string. So that means our middle finger. Then 7th fret on the E string. That'll mean our pinky. Then on the next string, we'll have index, middle, and pinky, or 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. So that was all on the A string. And then the last 3 notes will have 4th fret, 6th fret instead of 5th, and 7th. So I'm going to give you the finger pattern going through the whole scale. On the E string, you've got middle, pinky. Then on the next string, you've got index, middle, pinky. Then on the next string, index, ring, pinky. And if we gave these notes an order of the way they appear in the scale, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As you can tell, that's not the fret numbers. So just make sure that you know that. That's not the fret numbers. All right. So now that we know that, we're going to be playing our 8th note of the scale, which is the last note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to go to the 8th note. We're going to play it 2 times. Then we're going to go to the 5th note of the scale. Then we're going to go to the 7th note of the scale. And then back to the 8th note 2 times. So that's the first part. Then we're going to go 8, 7, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just those backwards. 8, 7, 6, 6, 5, 6, 6. And that's the 6th note of the scale, not the 6th fret. Hope that makes sense. Then we've got 6, 5, 4, 4. Then 4, 6, 5, 5. Then 5, 7, 8, 8, and you do it again, 5, 7, 8, and then it starts over. Okay, so now that's how we play the original bass line for Stand By Me. But a lot of uke groups will play that in the key of C instead of the key of A, right? Because there's some popular versions that are in the key of C. So we take our pattern, which was middle, pinky, index, ring, pinky for the A major scale. But now instead of starting on the 5th fret of the E string being our middle finger note, we're gonna move over to a C note, which is the 3rd fret on the A string. So that means our new grid, our middle finger is getting 3rd fret notes. So here's what the new grid is. Pointer is getting 2nd fret, middle finger is getting 3rd fret, ring finger is getting 4th fret, and pinky's getting 5th fret notes. So now we do the same finger pattern on the thickest string of what we're doing. We're gonna play the 3rd fret on the A string as our first note. And we're gonna play middle finger, pinky. Then on the next string, thinner, we're gonna go index, middle, pinky. Then we're gonna go one more thinner string, index, ring, pinky. Middle, pinky, index, middle, pinky, index, ring, pinky. Okay? Now we do the same thing that we're doing here, where we go, okay, we're gonna give them each the number of the place they appear in the scale. So 1st note, 2nd note, 3rd note, 4th note, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. It's not the frets, it's the order they appear in the scale. Okay, so now we take what we did here to convert Stand By Me. We had 8, 8, 5, 7, 8, 8, 8, 7, 6, 6, 5, 6, 6, 6, 5, 4, 4, 4, 6, 5, 5, 5, 7, 8, 8. And I know I'm moving really fast through this, so if you want me to slow down and recap this, just let me know. But we're gonna do the same exact thing, but with our new finger pattern over here in the key of C. So 8th note of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we've got 8th note, 8th note, 5th, 7th, 8th note, 8th note, 8th, 7th, 6th, 6th, 5th, 6th, 6th, 6, 5, 4, 4, 4, 6, 5, 5. And once again, these are not fret numbers. They're the numbers, the orders appear in the scale. 5, 7, 8, 8, 5, 7, 8, 8. So that allows you to move this pattern around to any key that you want to. Let's say, okay, we did it in the key of A, and now we did it in the key of C. Let's say you got a very unique singer that's just like, ooh, I only do things in the key of D, okay? Well, you just gotta be able to find a D note. So I'm gonna use the 5th fret on the A string because I can build my pattern around there. So now my new grid is 4, 5, 6, and 7. So my middle finger will play the 5th fret on the A string. So now we can play our scale just to get warmed up. Middle, pinky, index, ring, pinky. Same idea, okay? And then, so this is the 8th note of the scale. That's where our Stand By Me bass line starts. So 8th note of the scale, 5th, 7th, 8th, 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 7th, 6th, 6th, 5th, 6th, 6th, 6, 5, 4, 4, 4, 6, 5, 5, 5, 7, 8, 8, 5, 7, 8. So the benefit of learning songs this way, being able to see basically what scale they're in and being able to play the bass line within a position like that, which, spoiler alert, you can't do that with every single song. Okay. So, sorry, I'm having to have the window down just because of that. Okay, just wondering, why did you go from full scale bass to U bass? Well, I still play full scale bass a lot as well, and I play upright bass as well too. So, switching to it, just to take a little break from the lesson, story time for a second. So, I had seen these things before and thought they looked kind of silly, honestly. I know everybody's like, the U-bass guy online thinks U-basses look silly. But at the music store I used to teach at a long time ago, maybe like over 10 years ago, there was one on the wall. And so it's like, okay, why would anybody want these rubber band strings? I never plugged it in. I just pulled it off the wall and like doodled on it. And I'm just like, what's the purpose of this? If I had plugged it in, I would have understood. But anyway, so I didn't think about it much. I put it back on the wall. And then later on, one of my close friends started a ukulele website called Rock Class 101. and he was wanting some U-bass lessons to be on the site as well. And I guess I'm the bass player that he knows the best. So he was saying, hey, if you do a few lessons for me on U-bass instead of on ukulele, because I was doing a few ukulele lessons with him, he said he'll purchase a U-bass, and then after I do the first, I think it was 3 lessons or something, lesson videos, then I could keep it. And that was actually, you know, luckily you're asking us on a day that I'm actually using that particular U-bass. He liked the sound of the metal strings better, and I was telling him, well, people are going to like the rubber strings sound better, you know, like most people are more familiar with that sound with the U-bass. But he encouraged this one, that he liked the sound of it better. So I ended up with this U-bass to make a couple of lessons for him, and right away when I got it, it was just fun doing arrangements on it. I think I did the Canon in D arrangement, which I can't really remember everything about it right now, but I think I did that the first night of having the U-bass. So it was just kind of like, oh, okay, this is easy to play. You can do bigger stretches. It's kind of fun to arrange things on it. And then after that, I did the review video on this bass that was the Kala U-bass with round wound strings. And that video took off. So it was like, oh, okay, well, this is fun for me. It's obviously a lot of other people are enjoying it, so I'll keep doing U-bass content. So that's the real reason why. Things that I like about it outside of that is it's very portable. So recently I've gotten into riding motorcycles. So if I want to travel on the motorcycle, it's a lot easier to take this than it is to take the full scale bass, for instance. So that's really why I jumped into U-bass. So that was a great question. Thanks for asking. Okay, back to the lesson. So if y'all remember, we were learning this like grid thing, right? So, okay, we got our grid, we've got a scale within a grid, and then now we just got to memorize basically what our finger pattern is. So I was telling it to you as far as the notes, the way the notes happen. You could also think of it by what finger is playing. So you could go pinky, 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 ring, pinky, 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 ring, index, index, if it's easier for you to think like that. But then you got to keep track of which string you're on, which is why I was doing first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thanks for the question. That was actually a great question. Sorry if I don't know if I can pull the chats back up that easy. I wish it would just show on the screen all the time so that I could reference who it was that posted that. But they changed things around a little bit, and it actually took me a couple minutes here at the beginning to figure out how to get the landscape mode for the live too, rather than vertical. Do you guys like the landscape better, or do you prefer the vertical? Let me know. Okay, so here we go. So now that we've got that, we can change our key pretty easily. So that's one advantage of learning things within a pattern. Marvin says landscape's good for me. Thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it, Marvin. So so yeah, so that's a good way to kind of work on transposing songs, since your ukulele groups will probably pick a different key than the original a lot of the time to make the chords easier for the group. It's not always in the key of C major, which is why I'm teaching you this hack. Once again, I have other videos on this subject, so if you take the course that I have, it's a free course. Unless you want the PDF, then you become a Patreon member for the PDF part of it. But the video part's free. You go through there's a lesson called the grid, and then there's a lesson on how to play scales after that. So if you learn those couple of lessons, basically that's what I'm using here. And then there's another video that I have called How to Learn Songs on the Spot that talks a little bit more about assigning a number to each one of the scale degrees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And using that to play stuff so that you can transpose easily. Because then you just need to know the first note of where you're going. And then you can use that finger pattern to kind of carry you through. So a lot of people think that's a little bit cheap, but I think it's a great place to start. Just don't stop there, right? You go back in, you memorize the notes on the fretboard, you know, but the cheap way, you only have to memorize the letter names of the notes up to about the 5th fret on the E string and the A string. Maybe you want to go all the way to the 7th. if you're just doing the E and the A string. And then you can figure out your other notes based off of that by knowing what key to play in. And you can kind of reverse engineer things. So, so that's what I would do for that one. So I wouldn't explain all of this on a video that was just devoted to playing the song in C, right? But there's a little background information for you. So if that was all confusing and made absolutely no sense, but you want to be able to play Stand By Me in C because of ukulele group that you're playing with is doing that, then here's what I'm saying right now. 5th fret on the G string is a C. So we're gonna start on that note. So I'll just tell you the fret numbers, and you just watch for the fingers I'm using. So 5th fret on the G string. Then you go, yeah, it's on, okay, so the lessons are on YouTube and on Patreon. So Patreon will have the PDF stuff. That's patreon.com/StephenCoxBass. So it's the same as my channel name. You just do patreon.com/StephenCoxBass if you're curious about the Patreon. And then there I usually put the sheet music that goes along with each lesson. Usually it's for paid members right there, but the free stuff is all on YouTube. So basically you just go through my YouTube channel. There are playlists for different things. So like there are beginner playlists, and then there's a playlist for the course, and just a few other things, but most of that's on YouTube. Pretty much all of it's on YouTube. It's just if you want the printable tab or anything like that, then you can become a patron in addition to that. Or if you just like supporting. Okay, so Stand By Me real quick. So that's 5th fret on the G string 2 times, then go into 5th fret on the D string once, then the 4th fret on the G string, back to the 5th fret, still on the G string. So 5th, 5th, change strings, 5th, and then back to G string, 4th, 5th, 5th. Then you're gonna go, and these are frets this time. 5th fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret, 2nd fret, then 5th fret on the D string, 5th fret on the D string, back to 2nd fret on the G string. And I think you do that twice, and then, so then that would be 2nd fret on the G string, 5th fret on the D string, and 4th fret on the D string. So you hit that one again, then, I say 4th fret, I meant 3rd fret. Let me try it again. 2nd fret on the G string, 5th fret, and 3rd fret on the D string. And then 3rd fret again. So that's going to be, that next part's going to be 3rd fret on the D string, 2nd fret on the G string, and 5th fret on the D string. And then you go back to the first part. Thank you, Marvin. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. Very kind of you. Okay, so that's the idea with playing Stand By Me in C. I'm just going to play it slowly because I know there are some visual learners that learn better that way. So I'm just going to play it all the way through. So hopefully that will help a little bit. So with that, I know it's kind of hard to see which string I'm playing sometimes, but just watch like the tip of my finger. So it was pinky, going to ring finger, going back to pinky. And then the second part, going to the second chord, pinky, ring, index, right? And then it stays there for a second, and then it goes index, then pinky on the D string this time, and then middle finger on the D string as well. And then going to the 4th chord of the song, we're gonna be doing middle finger on the D string, index finger on the G string, and pinky this time on the D string. And then at the end, pinky, ring, pinky. So it was pinky on the D string, then ring and pinky on the G string. So there's a whole lot of different ways of learning, and there are a lot of different learning styles. So hopefully that helps you guys. and that's kind of the idea. So being able to transpose a pattern of a bass line is kind of a cool thing to do. So hopefully that helps a little bit. What other songs? I'm gonna try to look at the screen because the chat disappears once people put stuff on there. It stays for like 5 seconds and then goes away. So what songs are you playing with ukulele groups, or do you want to play with ukulele groups where they might do the song in a different key? Like if you're watching Cynthia Lynn videos, a lot of the songs get transposed to the key of C major. They don't all get transposed to the key of C major, but a lot of times they do, so that the very beginners that only know 4 chords on the ukulele can play a lot of different songs in the key of C rather than whatever key they're originally in. So hopefully that helps. But I'm wanting to make a series where I basically just go through the simple way of teaching it, where it's just the frets, you know, and the tablature appears on the screen and everything. But for those that like knowing the behind the scenes of how I'm even getting the bass line that works with it, that's what I'm doing. Okay, so it's all about learning scales, learning scale patterns, understanding that it's a movable pattern, you know, all that stuff. Those are all major scales, right? Then you can learn a minor scale pattern. Do the same thing with that. So this is A minor because I'm starting on an A note. This is C minor because I'm starting on a C note. So it's the same finger pattern though. Index, ring, pinky, next string, index, ring, pinky, next string, index, ring, no matter where I'm playing it. And that's to help you do a scale starting on the E or the A strings. Obviously, if something takes 3 strings and you started on the D string, you'd run out of notes. So you'd have to use a different, just a different concept to do that. Basically, you can also learn to play scales on 1 string. I have a video somewhere from, gosh, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I don't even know, about playing a scale on 1 string. So I'm going to briefly talk to you about that too, because this scale pattern, you can also learn how to play that same scale on 1 string. Right? Okay? So basically what you do there is you use what are called whole steps and half steps to build the scale. So a whole step is going from whatever fret you're on, skipping over a fret and going to the next one up. So if you're on the 3rd fret and you go to the 5th fret, you skipped over the 4th fret. That's a whole step. Okay? And then a half step would be just going from a fret to the next fret up. So like from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret, for instance. Okay? So then you use those building blocks to build the scale. So you start on a note. We haven't taken a step yet. You start there. So when you're doing your starting point, don't say whole step when you're there. But the formula for a major scale is you go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay? So that's 2 whole steps. There's your starting point. There's your first whole step and your second whole step. Then we're going to take a half step. Now we're going to do 3 whole steps. 1 whole step, 2 whole step, 3 whole step, and then a half step at the end to finish the scale. And if that didn't make sense and you want to be able to like look at this and just make sure you have the concept right, I'll tell you what the fret numbers are. This is the C major scale again. So I'm starting on the 3rd fret on the A string. And I'm going 3rd, 5th, 7th, 8th, 10th, 12th, 14th, 15th, all on that same string. Pardon me. Hold 1 second. Allergies are getting me. But like I said, I'm trying to do this live stream from outside to see if the quality is any better. I won't know until the playback, but it seems like the response I'm getting from you guys that this might be better quality than when I do the live streams from home from my computer. So if I'm wrong about that, I'll just go back to doing them there. But if I'm right about that, then I may just figure out a better microphone setup and do it this way for the time being. Okay. So if you have any questions about that, or something was just way too confusing, just put it in the chat. Hopefully I'll see it before it disappears. I'm trying to think of other songs that ukulele players might do in the key of C that usually aren't in the key of C. And I'm struggling to come up with them. So I know Stand By Me was one, Brown Eyed Girl was one, so I went over both of those. I don't know. But anyway, you kind of get the idea. So if you have a chord sheet, you can always just create a bass line for other songs that don't have a specific bass line. Those are two specific bass lines that come to mind. I'll give you one more. Okay, so Hill to Victory says, do you have a bass course? It's a U-bass course. So it's basically the same thing, no pun intended, as I would if I made a full-scale bass course. The U-bass stuff would be almost exactly the same, with the exception of there's extra like talk about how to hold the instrument might be a little bit different, not much different, but just a little bit different. And then the plucking technique, you might anchor your thumb on a pickup on an electric bass, but for the U-bass, there's nowhere really to anchor your thumb unless you want to anchor it on the neck. So just, there are little tiny things like that that are different, but the lessons will apply, you know, anything beyond basic hand position. Well, hand position is mostly the same too, even from electric bass. There are a few things I would do differently, but not much differently. So you can use the U-bass course that's free on YouTube. And if you become a Patreon member, there's a PDF version of the course as well. Oh, you have a Kali U-bass. Oh, okay. So yeah, so that's just a disclaimer if you didn't. Okay, you have a U-bass. So the videos are on YouTube, so they're free. So if you go to my channel and you just look for, there should be a playlist on there. You could also probably just type in either one of these things. Bass ukulele mini course is one name that I have it under, and if you just search that on Google, it'll probably come up in the top 10, you know, of the results. And then the other one is if you type U-bass ultimate U-bass course or something, it'll probably come up too. There are a few other people with U-bass courses too, maybe worth checking theirs out too, but my entire one is free on YouTube for that part. But if you become a Patreon member, you can get the PDF part of it so that you can print it out and have that to look at rather than just looking at the tabs on the screen. For that, it's patreon.com/Stephen Cox Bass. It's the same as the YouTube channel where it's all one word, STEPHENCOXBASS. So patreon.com/Stephen Cox Bass. And if you have any trouble finding it on there, hopefully you won't. Hopefully it'll be it should be up near the top. But if you have trouble finding where the course is, you can always message me through there or put a message on here saying, hey, I'm a Patreon member and I don't know where to find things. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the channel. Just let me know if you have any questions. Every now and then a few comments will slip through the cracks, but I try to get back to everybody's comments on the videos. So so if you have questions about specific things, hopefully I can just answer them there. Okay, so other songs, I'm just trying to think. If I were playing a bass part, well, here's an interesting one. I had a student today and they were doing Johnny Be Good, but they did it in the key of A, not the key of C. So A is still not the original key, but it's a little bit easier than playing it in B flat. Less bar chords for the ukulele players. So for us, we can kind of learn a pattern. This would go along with some more stuff in the course. Your pattern is movable, so you've got to like move it to where the chords start. So in this one, we're not going to do it all in one position like we did with the Stand By Me. It's not all in one grid is what I'm trying to say. So a bass line that's not just root and fifth, which you can totally do root and fifth on that. It just turns it into a country sounding thing. Deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, right back up in the woods among the evergreens, there stood a log cabin made of earth and wood. You could do that. Lived a country boy named Johnny Be Good, who never ever learned to read or write so well. He could play that guitar just like ringing a bell. Go, go, right? So you could do that, but it would just turn it into kind of country sounding blues instead of what it is. I guess, kind of a rock and roll blues. So for the rock and roll blues line, the thing that I play on it most often is this. Or I'll go bum, 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 bum. Sometimes I'll double the notes. If you want to do a simpler version, you just do quarter, 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 eighth notes. So that's going to be this pattern, and then we can move that pattern around based on what chord we're going to. So within the same song, we may have to move that pattern around, but you'll kind of get the idea. And at some point, I'm hoping I'll do a blues course. It's a big undertaking to do a course, so I'm kind of taking my time on that. But that would be a cool course to have, a blues one. I have some individual blues lessons that might help. I actually did one of them as a live stream, and you can see what I mean by the quality on that one being super duper low, but it might still help you anyway. So there's like a 12-bar blues introduction lesson, I believe I called it, and it was a live stream from 4 or 5 years ago. But anyway, you basically just need to learn the pattern for A, and then move it for the chords. When the chords go to a D and then they go to an E later on, you can just basically move that same pattern to those new spots. So our A pattern is going to be, of the scale, root, third, fifth, sixth note, and fifth note. So 1, 3, 5, 6, 5. And that's the pattern I like using. The original bass line is not like this. Willie Dixon actually played bass on the recording, and he had some like really fast eighth note thing going on at the beginning of the song, and then kind of got into a little bit simpler of a pattern later on. But this is something that works with it if you want to get away from a root fifth line. That's just kind of like a blues pattern that you can use on other things too. So in my course, I talk about arpeggios. The first 3 notes of this are just an A major arpeggio, right? So that's going to be middle finger on the 5th fret of the E string, pointer finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, pinky on the 7th fret of the A string, and then you're going to go to the 4th fret on the D string, and then back to the 7th fret on the A string. But if you think about your grid for the A major scale, you're going middle finger, pointer finger, pinky. So the middle finger's on the E string, then pointer to pinky on the A string, then pointer on the D string, then back to pinky on the A string. So I think that's a good pattern for it. And you do it 4 times on the A, and then you'll go to D, which all you have to do is move everything you just did to a thinner string. Just 1 string thinner for the whole entire pattern. And you only do it 2 times there. Then you go back to the original pattern. Then from there, we're gonna move our pattern to an E note, and the E note that I'm using here is gonna be the 7th fret on the A string. But we're doing our same finger pattern, just starting on that note. Then there are different versions. One would say to do it twice there and then go back to the original A pattern. But another way you could do it is you could go E 1 time, and then you go, and then you go back to D 1 time before going back to A 2 times, right? So then with the song, you're down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the woods among the evergreens, stood a log cabin made of earth and wood, where lived a country boy named Johnny B. Good, who never ever learned to read or write so well. He could play that guitar just like ringing a bell. So that was without the going back to D down there. So the other version in the same spot would be, never ever learned to read or write so well. He could play that guitar just like ringing a bell. So that's the other variation you could use, depending on if they say there's an extra D chord on the way down on your chart or not. On the ukulele chart or the lyric sheet or whatever. Okay, so that being said, let's say they wanted to do it in the key of C instead of the key of A. You could start on the 3rd fret C here. You just have to move your pattern to an F and a G. And you'd know this from like the chord sheet you guys still there? Sorry about that. I think it froze for a second because someone tried to call me. But anyway, to do that in C, you just need to know that your grids are going to start on a C, an F, and a G. But this F and G won't let you do that extra note. So you may want to do all of them up here on the neck. So 8th fret on the E string is also a C note. So you in this way, you may want to learn more than just the names of the notes up to the 5th fret. You may want to learn all the names of the notes on the E and the A string, or up to the 12th fret, because it starts over after that. But you really don't need to. I think up to the 7th or 8th fret's fine. But anyway, there's a rule that you can do to figure out that this is a C aside from that. Okay, so if we're doing a C, our pattern is still middle finger on the thickest string you're starting on, then going to a 1 string thinner and doing pointer and pinky, and then doing index on the next string up, and then coming back to the middle string of whatever 3 you're playing it on to play the pinky. And then your F is right underneath it, so it's really easy. So if you know that that's an F, then you go back to C. Then when you go to G, you can use this G if you want to. You could also use this G. It's just wherever you want to play it. But anyway, you just kind of use that, and you have these movable patterns. So I think learning movable patterns is really the key to all of this. So that's why in the course, I teach you the grid first, so you understand how your fingers work within a grid formation, okay? And then I teach you how to come up with an arpeggio based on that, and then you just, when you go to a different chord, you use the arpeggio that's associated with that chord. They have the same name, like the C major arpeggio would go with the C major chord. And then you, I've lost my train of thought. And then, anyway, then when you move to the new chord, you just position your grid the same way that you started the other patterns. If you started with your middle finger on the other pattern, on the note that everything's centered around, then move your middle finger to the new starting place. So in other words, if it's a C chord, an F chord, and a G chord, your middle finger is going to be on the C on the first chord. It's going to be on the F when you move the pattern to the next chord, and it's going to be on the G on the other one. So you can figure out your grid based on that one finger. Okay. Hopefully that made sense. If not, like I said, I'm kind of all over the place in here. If you go through the course, it's a lot more organized, and it'll help you out with that. And like I said, if you don't need a printed out version of it, you know, the printed out version's on Patreon. But if that's not something that you need, the tabs do appear on the screen. The sheet music, if it's necessary, or for certain lessons also, will appear on the screen for the part that you're on. So if you can just pause the video, you don't really need to have a printed out version. But I know some people prefer to have a printed out version, and that's why I did that. So so yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, just check that out. But being able to transpose songs and being able to move these patterns, it's almost the same concept, will really help you with your playing. It will really help you be able to change the key. So like anytime you're in a band and the singer's like, ooh, I can't sing in a key that high, can we move it down a key? You could say, yeah, I kind of know how to do that. I'll just move my pattern down 2 frets, you know, or whatnot. Or, you know, just center your pattern around whatever key the other person tells you they want you to move it to. All right, so that about covers that. Hopefully that was helpful knowledge for you guys. And you know, I know it's not the most entertaining subject to learn that much theory, but hopefully that will help you guys just move stuff around if you're in a ukulele group. Okay, sorry, I went really long on that one. So I'm going to try to play another song of mine. It's very similar to the one I started this with, and this is like an arrangement that uses multiple notes at the same time and has some percussive hits in it. I call this one Going Camping. We'll see if I remember it. guys. And so that's it. If you have any final questions, just let me know on here. And if not, then I will see you guys next time. So I'll give you basically a minute to just kind of say any final things, and I might just play a groove so I can watch the screen while I'm doing that. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. I try to do these the first Thursday of each month, but lately there have been a lot of conflicts, so sometimes it ends up a little bit later in the month like this. All right, guys, thank you once again for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. Once again, for those still on here, there is a course on my YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out. If you can't find it very easily, you can probably just search YouTube for UBass mini course or bass ukulele mini course, and hopefully that'll help you find it. But I want to thank y'all so much for sitting here with me and learning a little bit about the UBass, asking questions, and just kind of hanging out. All right, once again, if you have any final questions, just let me know. Hopefully they'll come up on the screen. And yeah. All right, thank you once again, and I will see you guys next time. I hope all is well. Cheers.